Good afternoon, everyone. This is your friend Naishat Gadani coming to you from Melbourne. And today is our 140th episode of Career Care Package. And today we are talking about how to write a career change CV. How to write CV that makes employer go wow even though you are making a career change. So that's what we are going to talk about today. And to make it really easier for you to understand, we are just not going to talk about how that works, but we are actually going to show you examples that has worked in real life. And we will share with you the strategy behind how did we structure those sections and what you make out of it. Feel free, as always, feel free to make sure that you ask questions. But also, if I can request this time, if you know somebody who is in this phase right now, who's looking to make a change in career and could be struggling with their CV, tag them in the post because it will make a hell of a difference to how they foresee their ability to find a job. Because remember, identifying a career, it's pretty, it's a remarkable task if you're changing your career, but then to articulate or communicate that why you are a great fit for that role, for that career, is another challenge. And that's the challenge that we are really taking absolutely head on today. So as always, feel free to drop in your questions. We will take as we come along with that. But before we start to talk about career change CV, let's welcome Caroline Brown.
Thanks, Nation. I feel very welcome today, and I'm really excited to be talking about this topic because people struggle with it so much, and it isn't easy. So don't think that the fact that you're finding it difficult makes you an idiot. You're not. It's not an easy thing to do. Number one, you've got to work out what it is you want to do, and like Nesh says, you've got to then be able to present that in a compelling way. And I think the language that we use in what we do around, identify your transferable skills, I don't like that language. I think that language makes it a whole lot harder. So what we're going to do today is give you a brief snapshot of our step-by-step process and what that actually ends up looking like on a CV. So if you've got any questions, please put them in the comments. And I reckon it's a good time to just kick off. Hey, Nesh?
Absolutely. So I'll start sharing the screen. If you find that the screen is a little small, you can't read, please let us know as well, and we will adjust to that. Okay, so let's do this now. All right, so let's go. So
Okay.
hopefully you're able to see that.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
Here's a flying view of what we're talking about as Nation scrolls down the screen. Okay, I just wanted to talk about these points. It's not everything to consider, but it's most things to consider when you're writing these CVs. Hi, Imtiaz, great to see you. Hopefully you'll get some value out of this. So the first point is research the role deeply. So what is the job that you would like to apply for? A really good question to ask is, what will you be doing every day in this job? The reason I say that is that job descriptions and job advertisements are often written very badly, and you can think that you can do the tasks because you might have good customer relationship skills, good stakeholder engagement skills, good project management skills. But what you really want to know is, and where you get to the meat of what you put on your CV, is what is it that I'm going to be doing every day? And that can help you connect the dots, basically. So that's the first one. Research the role very deeply. Ask that question, do I really get a picture of what I'll be doing every day? The second point is to think deeply about you. So why are you applying for this job? What's behind your idea around changing your career? So the things that I actually get people to think about with various questions is, why do you want the role that you're applying for? What skills and strengths can you bring? And then how will that benefit your future employer? And that information I put in, and I've noticed in the CVs that you do as well, Nash, I put in a career objective. So that career objective might be 2 or 3 paragraphs succinctly explaining those things, but showing that you've done the research on yourself. So that's number two. If you want to scroll down, Naish. Number three is to create a powerful front page. So the front page should actually explain and have everything that people need to see about you at one glance. And it should be obvious why you're applying for the role that you're applying for. So it's really focused and targeted around the role that you're applying for. It's not everything that you can do, it's what will sell you for that role. On the front page, I also look at the skills that they ask, and I include those skills on the CV as they match what the person can deliver. So not all the skills, but the skills that they're asking for and the skills I also have that are relevant to that role. And then on the front page, what I do, and this is an easy structure to follow, there are a lot of different structures to follow, but hopefully you'll be able to follow this. I match up the key requirements. So what might I be doing every day? I match that up with evidence that I can deliver that. So some mini achievements that support my claim to have good project management skills or good writing skills or whatever skill it is that they're actually asking. So if you follow that structure, you don't actually have to worry about transferable skills. The research that you've done on the job in terms of what they're really asking is what you've got to present on the CV. And anything else that you have on that CV about other experience supports that argument to hire you for that job. And that's pretty much it. They're the 5 points that I generally go through in thinking about creating a CV that markets me for the job that I'm going to go for from a career change point of view. So yeah, Naish, what are your thoughts on those?
I think they're very simplistic to understand. I think it's really great to dismantle that, because otherwise, as I portrayed in my doodle, it's like so confusing, and you've got so many thoughts going on. So it's very important for you to really compartmentalize that and dismantle that. So it's easy for you to handle that particular information, and that's what these five things are really succinctly outline. Imtiaz, welcome. Balin, welcome. And Zoeb says that I was waiting for valuable session for a long time. Well, wherever you are, it reached us quite late, but that's fine. I think we are here today. So let's jump on to some examples. And now, when you look at these examples, they come from different industries, as well, and they may or may not follow exactly the same, five things that Caroline has outlined. But you will see that most of them aligns to these five particular points that we discussed so far. So let's look at the first. Now, I think it would be better to give a background of that particular example so that you can keep that in context. So the next CV that we are going to show you is a resume that I wrote for someone who had masters in agriculture science, or probably I need to really check what exactly that qualification is. But she got this masters in India, and then she came here and then started to work with her partner in the business. And then one fine day she realized that this is not what she did masters for. So she decided to drop it and ask her husband that, look, you look after the business. I'm not going to be involved. I really want to do something that I studied so hard for, right? Now she's coming back into the industry probably after 7-8 years, but she also worked during that time as a daily assistant in a supermarket. What that allowed, now that was kind of a connecting tissue for us, because that's what it allowed us to really extrapolate some information. So that's the background of that. Okay, so let's look at the CV. Okay. Okay. So this is the first bit of CV. So as we talked about that, let people know what you're looking for. Give the focus to the resume. Don't let the reader guess what you're looking for. And that's what it says, that I'm seeking entry level role into quality assurance or control, and either I'm looking into food or agriculture. So that really sets the tone for this. Somebody reading it, they don't have to really kind of investigate, but it's just very clear. The objective is very clear. And then I've also identified transferable skills and competencies. So they are easily for people to understand that they are most relevant things to look at. Now, before we look at that, what we studied was what are some of the general skills that people look at, employers look at in quality control or assurance, and we really kind of identified. And there is also an evidence that she has actually got those skills through a professional development course that she did while she was working in her partner's business. So it clearly identifies that she has got GMP, good manufacturing practices principle. She has got a great understanding of S principle, which is also food safety related things. And that's what I've highlighted. That I've got transferable skills, and these are the ones. Okay. Then,
Ash, your
yes,
your voice is cracking up a little bit.
or is it? Now it's
Yeah,
better.
yeah, it just needs to be near the microphone, I think.
Okay. And then we look at the qualification and professional development. Now, I usually don't put the qualification and professional development on the first page unless there is a graduate. But in this case, I wanted to because it is still relevant information. If she was applying for a role, let's say in real estate sales, this would not matter a lot. But now she's applying to a role as a quality assurance officer. So that was very important. And in that, particularly, we identified the relevant subjects as well. Around packaging technology, food engineering. Those are the things that she studied, and she also then studied the Sci Global professional development. So we put up everything that she studied and put it up here. And then I've clearly said that here highlighted the relevant professional experience. Now, the word relevant is very important here because we are clearly saying that I've got relevant experience in this. Now, if you look at, she worked as a daily assistant. It's not directly, all the things that she learned as a daily assistant. They are not all completely transferable. But if you now look at the four sections that we created, it covers all the basis points that the employer will look for in an entry level quality assurance officer, in an entry level career officer, not somebody who's seasoned. So she's also entering into the workforce, and on those things we also picked up the things, tasks that she completed, which also aligns with the position that she was seeking as well. So that's what, relevant professional experience, and then other professional experience. So we did not eliminate that completely, but what we did was we pushed it a little bit down. So we did not want them to say, "Oh, you work as an office manager." Nah, why would an office manager come and work with an food manufacturing company? No. So that's why we wanted to put this for very easily for people to understand, and that's precisely what it did, was that the most relevant things are in the three quarters of the page. And this actually turned out to be one page resume, which was fantastic. Earlier she had 3 pages of resume, but heaps of other information that was unnecessary. So to trim that, but kept focus on the most important things. All right. Okay, let's move on to. I also wanted to show you the cover letter that we created for her as well, and then we will take KB's perspective on this. So the cover letter that we created, was kind of a big sales kind of a cover letter where it opens up with, "Are you looking for a quality assurance officer who has these things?" Because these are the standard things that the quality assurance officer should have: qualification, understanding of the GMP principles, problem solving, and all those things. And it says that then the search ends with me. It was very clear with that. Then we highlighted the 4 years of experience, solid in the safety experience, and we also said the knowledge, the work experience that she had, and also said major in dairy and food engineering here. So what we have tried to do is to capture the most important bit and communicate. And I think this is also very important to look at in this context that I think we covered this particular topic before as well. That then look at what you have, and then try to extrapolate information from that. If you don't have something, you can't use that. If you're looking at a particular certification and if you don't have that, then either you wait to complete the certification or find information that is still useful, and the employer will still find it compelling to read that, and that is very important. Maybe.
Yeah, I like the fact that these are very eye-catching, as in eye-catching on the cover letter, because that will actually stand out, and broken up in terms of what they're actually looking for. And I like on the CV, if you might just want to scroll back up, Nesh, to the CV, right up to the top, something that really works well is to say seeking the role that you're seeking, because it just means that they read the entire CV with that in mind, and it triggers them searching for that. Sometimes I put candidate or applicant and then the role as well, but I really like the fact that you've done that in this. And also the way that you've broken up the experience sections, I think, is really smart. And I did that recently with a client of mine who was in effectively customer service but wanted to get back into travel. And she'd been out of travel for about 5 or 6 years. So we broke up the employment summary into travel experience and then customer service experience, but made it very clear. You could just see it on the front page so you didn't get confused by it, basically. So yeah, I really like what you've done with that. And I think you're thinking about, if you didn't watch what Sharon was talking about yesterday about cover letters and how she reads them, one of the things that she does is, and she's an experienced recruiter of 30 plus years, is if she wants to know why, if you're doing a career change. So the cover letter essentially is where you get to inject the why. Having been out of this sector for 5 years, I'm ready to get back in. I've had a brief break, or I've had a break doing blah, 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 but this is why I'm ready. So the focus is somewhat on the why, like maybe a couple of sentences on the why. And then it's about, I've done this kind of audit on my skills and strengths, and this is what I'm bringing now. And so they get to really see that you've done the homework in that. So in that cover letter, Nash, I think that illustrates it quite well. And it's quite bold as well, Are you seeking? This is what I have. And I think if you follow that structure of the requirements that they're asking, you don't get lost in too much of the, jumbled ideas or jumbled thoughts or that type of thing. And we've got a question, Kapil, but I think, Kapil, if you don't mind, we might just ask that at the end. I think that's relevant to sort of summarise up on, I think. So, So, Nesh, do you want to show the next one you've got?
Yeah, let's go to the next one. Now, the next one is a bit different. It is different because it's still from someone who came here as a migrant. He is a mechanical engineer, worked all across his career into water treatment engineer, but he couldn't get a job straight away when he came here in 2018. Early 2018. So he got a job in IT support, with a company. And so what happened was that there was a 1 year thing, right? So when people look at the CV, and if you look at the chronological CV, he has no chance. People say, "Oh, you work in IT support. How is that relevant now, right?" So we wanted to really keep it focused still on the water treatment projects that he has done, and that's what his passion is, and that's what this highlights. So similarly, in this one as well, so the focus is straight away goes into that I'm a mechanical engineer with water treatment project and application. So it gives the focus to that. I'm not wasting too much time on giving a high profile. It's a very simple summary with what are some of the basic things that I've done. 10 years of experience, and then I talk about straight away go into the project highlights. That means which are some of my really groundbreaking accomplishment in my role so far, what I've done, and each of them were quantified. And that's very it's a very standout thing. Immediately when someone looks at that, says, "Wow, this is like if I put in $100,000 in this engineer, I'm probably get 300 $400,000 back in a year." That's what we are right now talking about. So second thing is focused on project highlights or accomplishment, and but I've specifically highlighted that these are water treatment project highlights. They are not just because it registers there. If somebody does the ATS, it was a water treatment and something, if they are used differently, it might pop up as well. So that was one strategy. Second one is the core competencies. Now, these are core competencies which are standard ones that we use in our resume. They are nothing different, but they are still focused on water treatment projects. And then career chronology, and that's very important. If you look at this career chronology, it does not talk about the IT support at all. It does not talk about that. I've purposefully removed everything and said, I want you to just focus on, that you worked in L&T, which is one of India's biggest infrastructure company. And I've also removed the month and the year, month as well here, because he worked in the same company for 8 years. So it doesn't matter whether he started in March and finished in July or not. He continuously progressed in his career. So that was one thing. And then all the professional experience that he has done. These are all the tasks that he performed in that role. And then what happens is when you go to the next stage, you find out, oh, you also worked as a project coordinator with technical specialists. Wow, you worked in Australia Post. And this is just simple two lines. I don't want to exaggerate anything that you've done because they were not at all relevant. There are skills that you gain talking to customer, understanding their needs, working with stakeholders and everything. They are important, but you also perform within other jobs as well. So that is what I consistently focus on, the relevant information and how can we expect those information.
Nash, your voice is breaking up a little bit again. So,
Okay.
yeah, you just need to be close to the microphone.
All right. So that's what I focus on is the relevant information and keeping the other information relatively out or not in the immediate focus for the reader. So that's what these are a couple of examples of really those resumes, and both of them work in their field now. In water treatment and also quality assurance. So that's these are a couple of my examples.
Yeah, it's interesting just where you've got the chronology. I think that's quite a smart thing to do. If you can just scroll up a bit, Nash. So you basically are making them look at the relevant experience, and then this is situational because he was only a year out of this, right? So if I looked at that, I at the front page without scrolling down, I go, okay, he's got all of this fantastic experience to 2018, and then I'm sort of forced to read what it is, and so all of that's in my mind. But then I still do have the question, what's he been doing since 2018? And I would scroll down and read it, but I've already read all of this other great stuff, so it's really pitching me for that particular role, and I think that's very very smart. So, and also I'm not confused because I've read it in order, and then I've gone, okay, what's he been doing? And then I'm going to flick through and then find it. So I think that's quite smart.
All right, excellent. Now, do we will go to the other CV? Do you want to give people a bit of background of that?
Yeah. So this CV is basically for a client of mine. Is that sort of lined up with the top of the page, Nish? Because that's
no, I don't think so. When I turned that into a PDF, I think it has gone. Yeah.
So basically, with this CV, following the principles of information on the front page is in the order of what you want people to read, which is kind of like what Nation has done. So the front page and a bit in this case is what's going to sell her for the role. Now, she was a business owner who had a web design business for, I don't know, more than 10 years, but wanted to go back into part-time copywriting work. So if we put everything about her business on that front page, then it would be that she's been a business owner and just done a little bit of copywriting and content writing. So we really need to recast this back to this is why she wants the role, and really emphasize her content and copywriting skills out of all of her experience. So that was the idea behind it. So we set it up again, similar to Naish. What's she doing? What's she applying for? She's an expert writer, content and copy, and a creative leader. And then we basically in the career objective put why she was applying. So a love of designing communication for children saw me study early on to become a children's writer. With my mother, brother, and sister-in-law working in mental health, I understand the importance of lived experience. I bring a deep empathy for the audience to support others in their service. Now, this is written around the job that she's applying for, which was working in the department, I think working in a health department and writing copy and content for that. So we wanted to bring out, and it was for children, so we wanted to bring out everything that was relevant to health and also children. So then also that's why in that part, and then what she can bring to the role. So we pulled out the most relevant aspects of that. So I'm delighted to present expert skills honed over a 10 plus year career in content and copywriting. For my most recent role with her company, project managing web design, digital marketing, I can offer a holistic approach. So we're thinking about what her business experience, what that helps her in doing this particular role. So not, how does pulling the team together help her with this particular role? And it was basically, that it helped her understand the project, relate to other professionals in the team and manage the projects end to end if she had to. So that was really it's quite short what we wrote, but it was quite pointed and we pulled out the relevant things. So we also looked at what skills were required and also decided instead of putting all of her skills up, just to put the ones that were relevant that she had, and also that she could bring these advanced technical skills as well. We divided them up so people could see them easily, and then put a career summary, just so people could see. So if you can scroll down a bit further, Naish, just for some context. Now, we put that she was the founder of this company, but also key roles in that company. So project manager, content and copywriter. So again, people are seeing that she has that experience. And then what I did for the next page and a little bit, broke my own rule in terms of what's on the first page, was pulled out the key tasks that she would be performing in the role and put a value statement, how she knew she was suitable to deliver those tasks based on her experience with some supporting achievements. So one of the tasks was developing web and intranet pages. So we put that she'd had 10 years experience designing clear, search engine optimized and customer-centric communication and content aligned to exceeding expectations. So that's sort of, her elevator pitch. And then some examples, and put recently delivering, and then some examples that back that up. So if you scroll down a bit further, Naish, you can see that I've done that for each of the relevant tasks. So it's developing apps and social media in this role. Then if you can scroll down a bit further, writing newsletters and blogs. So it gave some achievements that were relevant to that. And then basically went back into just a normal sort of CV there. So, that basically helped her secure interviews in content and copywriting, because it's really built around that aspect of what she could do. So really didn't focus on her small business management. That kind of stuff wasn't relevant for the role. It was all of the projects that she'd managed and actually been hands-on in working for that role as well. So that's an example of a recent client of mine that I've worked with. Obviously changed.
Yeah. What sounds really fascinating is that it is very personalized. When I'm reading it, I can feel that there's somebody talking to me. And I think if you look at, even though she got you to do that, but even though that, somebody looks at, they said, if somebody can write this warm and somebody can understand the target audience and write it, I'm pretty sure that she's demonstrating that right on the resume,
Yeah.
and she would be good. Another thing is, I think we talked about these things, even our, when we talked about resumes as well, is the mission. Sometimes we say, why do you do what you do? And I think that is very much becoming very clear in this one. In fact, this breaks one of the, not so much cardinal rule, but one of the rule that resume has to be in the third person. But if
Mm,
you see that, it doesn't need to be, because it also based on the, on the particular profession. If you're in a creative profession, if you're a musician, if you're applying for marketing kind of a role, which is still creative role, right? They won't mind if you use I or something else. For them it is not an issue, right?
mm,
But that's what is very, very, very simplistically coming through. And the way the resume is structured, it's so easy for people to understand sections.
mm,
And that I think, Caroline, is one of the biggest thing, for people to get. Because if you go to buy a property or anything, people show you graphics. Okay, so first is, we'll have a plan approval, then this will happen, then this will happen, then this will happen. So our brain registers that process.
mm,
In this resume, it is very clearly identified. And another thing that I really liked is this bit. It says created content aligned strategy and exceeding campaign goals, which is also directly talking to the requirement of
yeah,
that particular role,
yeah,
because it
for
is
a
creating
position.
content,
Yeah.
but it is creating content which is aligned to a big strategy as well in that. So I think that's why it really, really works. And it's very, it's, people think, and that's what we wanted to do today, everyone, is that we wanted to really show you these examples, so that you take away from that it is not impossible for you to create resume like this. It's not impossible, but what's required is clarity here. As Caroline mentioned, the first thing is, you got to deeply immerse yourself in the new role that you are applying.
Mm,
Like, I remember my career transition. When I looked at employment consultant and I wanted to do it, I met somebody accidentally, and she told me everything that employment consultants do for 1 hour, right? And that was gold mine. Then I had to look at, if they are looking for this, I've got this particular skill. Can I extrapolate something out of it or not? And that's what I worked on consistently. Where can I really connect that skill to what they are looking for? But it took a while, but it was worthwhile the effort. You know, you know, Start to look at those 5 questions that KB really articulated. In that. Yes, so we are more than happy to answer questions. KB, do you want to take the first one?
yeah, I just want to say something more about that. Like you'll notice with both of these CVs that Nation and I haven't gone with traditional headings. So it is actually a section of what you're trying to get across, but it's still getting across like that created content aligned to goals and aligned to strategy exceeding campaign goals. That was a key point that they're actually asking in the advertisement. So you can be creative in that, like that's there's no set in concrete way to actually set these resumes up, and the headings can become really powerful in that scenario as well. So yeah. Okay, so Kapil says, normally when you change career, you have to take a job that is at a lower pay scale and experience level than you are. How long in pay or designation should you prep yourself to go for? Look, I think that's really personal to the role and personal to maybe where you want to go next and how committed you are to actually making that change as well. So obviously going right back to basics, you're probably going to what's actually being offered for that, but you've got to look at to see whether that's something that you could probably sustain for a few years, or does that meet your current goals, or you're actually prepared to do that. I don't know that you're actually, depending on your experience, but you're not really in the great negotiating seat at that point in time. If you're going to change your career, you will probably be looking at what is actually on offer for that, because you'd have to re-earn your stripes in a different area. So how low in pay or designation should you prep yourself to go for is how much, how committed you are. Where does this fit with your goals? Can you actually meet it financially? Is that what you can sustain? Is that actually negotiable as well? So they're my thoughts on that.
Yeah. I'll give you an example of somebody who has made that tough choice. One of my close friend, he came here as a technician, electronics technician, and hugely talented in his work that he used to do. And he got a job, as well in Melbourne. But then he found that particular job has got a dead end. After a while, it's not going to grow further. So he actively changed his career into IT support. But in order to do that, he had to acquire qualification. So he dropped everything. He said, "Look, I can't focus on this. So I'm going to take 1 year off completely." And it was a conscious decision that he made with his partner. His partner worked during that time, and he completely focused. He moved to Melbourne. His partner was living in regional New South Wales, and he moved here, and that's what he focused on 1 year. That is what I wanted to get. It took a while, but now he works at a quite quite senior level in IT support. But that's what he did. He knew the risk that was associated with it. But the risk was much more or less than the risk of finding out something 2 5 years down the track, where you have got increased competition. Your willingness to change is also limited because you've got responsibility, you've got mortgage, you've got loans, you've got family, you've got kids. So that also becomes extra. I'm not saying that plays out every time, but you do have that in your head running, that whether that is risky enough or not. At the same time, I don't know whether you always go, quite significantly down, answering even Balin's question as well. It's not necessary that you start everything at entry level. Not necessary. Let's say you're a finance manager and you want to go into, I don't know, an analyst role. I'm pretty sure that you won't go at the entry level analyst role. You still kind of reasonable, kind of designation, in that context. But I think to assume that is also not so great as well. Do the research before you even start to make those judgments.
Yeah, I want to say something on that because, these CVs that we've produced are, CVs, but there is only so much your CV can do, and networking to find out whether that's a suitable role for you, what are the commonalities, what are the skills you have to acquire. Are they sectors that are experiencing a challenge that's similar to the challenges that you've faced? All of those things are the questions that you should be asking. And just specifically, Balin, does a career change mean starting from entry level all the time? No, absolutely not. One of my clients at the moment is working in a government corporation, wants to get into consulting, targeted one of the big fours in terms of informational interviews, and is now being interviewed for a role that is at the same level salary-wise. It's more about working out where that he would fit and hit the ground running, So, so no, not at all. And you have more chance of being able to negotiate yourself if you're not competing against thousands of people chucking in your resume, but building those relationships that allow you to have those conversations around where could I fit versus I'm going to fit in a pre-designed hole, basically.
Absolutely. So we don't have any more questions. Feel free to reach out to us if you need any assistance as well. Imtiaz said, would love a session on networking to build meaningful relationships where you two can role play and show examples on how to do it the right way. Why not?
Yeah.
Send us some script.
Sorry?
Send us some script and we will do that.
Hi, my name is Carolyn and I'm expert. No, actually, one of the things we were thinking about doing and love your feedback on is having a look at some people's LinkedIn profiles and working out what you might need to say to connect in a meaningful way to that person based on their profile. So I do this exercise with my clients, which is find people and then write an email and just look at it and go, would you say yes to that? And so happy to do those sorts of things. If you want to chuck some ideas in, we're more than happy to pick them up and run with them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's coming to a close today. Everyone, thank you very much again for joining us in 140th show. We are coming to 150th show in 10, not 10 days. It should be probably in a fortnight time. Will be on 150th. If you got some suggestions on how should we celebrate 150th show, who should we invite, please drop us a line. We will do that. But any ideas would be great, because it is just not our achievement. It is also an achievement of everybody who takes the time to tune in and listen to me guys talk as well. That's equally important. So tomorrow will be parliamentary 0 hour tomorrow. That means you will have all the questions that you can ask. But we also have a guest for tomorrow, an international student who found a job just before the COVID, but the strategies that she used are something very, very important to understand, the networks that she built and how did she gain internships and everything. So it's a really great discussions that we are going to have with that international students as well. So we will see you tomorrow, 3 p.m. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe.
You got it, Nish. Or else
Please.
we'll send the boys around with masks, of course. So one of my friends used to always say to me, I thought it was a hilarious line, is like, I've got friends that can make it look like an accident. So so if you don't just subscribe, actually, I don't know what I'll do. But anyway, please subscribe.
All right, excellent. We'll see you tomorrow, 3 p.m., everyone, and have a great evening, afternoon, whatever is left of it, and look after yourself and your family. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.